What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. Maybe you're listening later wherever you get your podcasts. If you are, you can get ad-free versions of this podcast and all of our podcasts at patreon.com/comicbookclub. Little ad there at the beginning. You guys like that?
Ironically, an ad about ad-free.
I know, crazy, right? So the
That's
people
the
in
twist.
the ad-free version are hearing an ad about not having ads.
What a Inception-level way to start your day.
I don't know.
We always like to, as we say on the show, start off with a little sorry. Give us sort of
Apologies.
Always be apologizing is what we've always said.
That's right.
Well, there are no apologies for our guest this evening. He is one of our favorite writers.
Yes.
We love having him on the show. And he's a new book from Image Comics that's coming out tomorrow. We're taking everyone down with us. And also, that is the name of the book. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Rosenberg, welcome.
Yo.
Hey,
Hey guys, sorry, it's just me.
Great to see you. Don't you dare
It's okay.
apologize.
You're
You
more
started-
than enough.
You started off with a little apology, the way that we do on the show.
I like to do it. I like to fit in, guys. You know that.
Appreciate it.
Very excited to talk about this book, but before we even get into it, how do you feel about your role in the long title for comic books trend? It's kind of your fault.
Discourse.
It's kind of my fault. I feel good about it. You know, here's the thing. Short comic book titles tend to be boring.
They're all taken. We've seen them all.
Yeah, we've seen all the words. All the words are comic
We
books.
need more words.
So unless you're coming up with new words, which they don't do often, or like the title of a character, that's fine. If you have a book called Steve, call your book Steve. That's fine. Cool. But I was always good about it. I was always like, oh, other people are doing longer titles now too, and I felt good. And then Something Is Killing the Children came out, and I was like, oh, that's a really good one. And then We Only Find Them When They're Dead came out, and that's a really good one. And I was like, man, it doesn't feel as flattering when they're better than mine.
Further place from here.
Yeah. What's that about? What's that book about? That's garbage. I thought you were going to ask me about. I just moved my office around. I thought you were going to ask me why I have a Clifford poster on my wall. I don't know why.
No,
I just noticed that.
We know your role in the Clifford discourse.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's Pete usually does ask about the stuff behind people. So, Pete, you have any questions about that?
Yeah. So you just stumble across Clifford and put him up on your wall. How
no,
does
I'm a huge fan. Martin Short, Charles Grodin. It's a perfect film. Perfect film.
Oh yeah. Grodin, prime Grodin.
It's prime Grodin. Yeah, it's the best Grodin you're gonna get. Maybe not the best, but it's really good.
It's a short revolution going on right now, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's actually talk about this book. But before we do, to take a little bit of a swerve every week on the show, a professional chef down in New Orleans named Brett Macris. He runs an amazing restaurant there called Shift. He either curates or creates a cocktail for us. And this week he created a cocktail based on your comic book. We're taking these cocktails down with us. It's vodka, orange juice, orange liqueur, chili liqueur, big orange peel, and cracked black pepper. To him, black pepper means vengeance, and this book is all about vengeance.
Sure.
So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't drink a lot of that stuff, but that sounds good. Yeah. Anytime a recipe has big orange peel, I feel like it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed you're
Strong
enjoying
swings.
a Yoo-hoo. That's a strong move, bro.
Hydration's important.
Yeah.
Nothing more hydrating than chocolate milk, they say. It's a lot of marathon runners will just have a Yoo-hoo on the way.
That is a thing now. I think you're joking, but I think that is a thing that they're literally distance runners drink chocolate milk now because they're
Is that true?
burned it.
Why?
They
It is
burned
true.
it.
I don't know. It's only about the protein in it and the calcium, the way it comes back. This is true. You can Google it.
Did Yoo-hoo email you? This sounds like a Yoo-hoo email.
Look, my friend the Quick Bunny told me
Yes.
that this is very
We
popular.
all know
among
the Quick
marathon
Bunny's
runners.
a long distance runner. So
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And it's obviously targeted towards me as a comic book writer. Everyone knows that I'm in great shape and very healthy. And they were like, "You seem like a distance runner. You should drink chocolate milk."
The new Gatorade.
Yoo-hoo's delicious. It's not chocolate milk because I think they can't call it chocolate
Yes, they
milk.
can't call it that.
It's chocolate drink. It says
Yeah.
drink
Good.
because it's
Good.
not.
Good swing. Good difference.
Yeah,
And
it's not dairy.
I said we were going to talk about the comic book and then brought up a cocktail and then we talked about Yoo-Hoo. So let's actually talk about the comic book because this book is great. Like I said, it comes out tomorrow from Image Comics. The art is by Stefano Landini. And the short pitch, even though without getting too into spoilers, plays out in very different ways in the first issue, is you're following kind of a Bond villain and his daughter. There are robot butlers they have. And it ends up being a revenge tale. I know I'm sort of jumping around a couple of things there, but any part of the pitch that I'm missing?
No, there's a sort of James Bond-esque super spy as well. So he is sort of our antagonist because our protagonists are, sort of a family of a mad scientist and his daughter, like you said.
Yeah. Well, talk about the inspiration for this. I mean, I think pretty obviously it comes from the Bond movies, but were you sitting down watching Die Another Day or something and suddenly sparked the idea, or where did it come from?
I mean, I try and sit down and watch Die Another Day every other day.
What a interesting Bond pull.
That's really, I like that. That's really good.
One of the least
literally the
Bond
only one I
movies.
could think of.
That's crazy, dude.
That's great. That's pretty wild.
I just blanked. Spectre. There's another one.
Spectre.
That is... what are you doing?
Second weirdest one.
These are like the rock bottom of the Bond list. Moonraker's right there.
Can we talk about Moonraker? The Goldeneye. Come on. The book came about. Stefano and I worked together on The Punisher for a little bit, and we enjoyed working with each other. And then we were going to do another book together, and a few years ago, and COVID hit and the book was paused, and then when it was unpaused, we were no longer the creative team on that book.
Big pause.
That was a big pause. I mean, for some of us are still on the pause, but that book is on shelves and collected in trade paperback. So I think the pause is over. And so Stefano reached out to me and said, we like working together. Do you want to do a creator-owned book? And I said, yes. And he said, I have an idea. And I said, that's awesome. What is it? And he sent me a drawing of a robot. And I said, that's not an idea. That's a picture of a robot. And he was like, yeah, I want to do like a cool, sexy spy story about a robot. And so, I grew up on the Bond stuff. I love that stuff. Obviously Spectre and Die Another Day are huge for me, but I also recognize that stuff is really problematic and crazy, and I enjoy it, but it's not the kind of thing I want to make per se. And so I was trying to figure out a way in to do that kind of thing without necessarily celebrating it, and from that we came up with the story about sort of. When I say this, it doesn't sound like the book is fun at all. It sounds really depressing, but it's, I want to do a story about sort of we always treat sort of violence as a binary between like a perpetrator and a victim. And I don't think that's a realistic worldview of the way violence works. And so I wanted to talk about the way it impacts people's families and generational trauma and things like that. And then also the book has like a robot that punches people's heads off and dick jokes and stuff. So it's, it's all of that.
It's a smorgasbord. Well, I would also say, like, I wouldn't even pigeonhole this as like a Bond reactive book. Like, reading it, I was getting sort of Dr. Doom Bots. I was getting a lot of the superhero adjacent stuff as well. So I wouldn't say it's fully in the Bond world. I really like that part of it.
No, yeah. I mean, I think, the starting point, the DNA starts as a Bond, and then we mutated it and changed it. And yeah, it's got a lot of, old, Tintin and adventure stuff, and then it's got sort of weird sci-fi elements and Johnny Quest and stuff like that.
I was just going to say Johnny Quest, like that is for sure right there.
It's sort of like a foul-mouthed, murderous Johnny Quest kind of is sort of a vibe.
It's like if Johnny Quest was a shitty dad.
Yeah.
And you think he's going to grow into be a good dad? He grew up on a weird island.
Yeah, he grew up on a weird island. I mean, but maybe that makes him cool. Johnny Quest is cool. Cool dad.
The other part, which you touched on when you were talking about family, the real heart of the book is the relationship between his father, who is the mad scientist, and his daughter. Why was it important to focus on that?
Gotta focus on something. No, I think partially, I do a weird thing when I make books that I try and make things that are very personal and very intimate to me, and then I think I say everything I have to say, and then a few years go by, and either the world has changed or I have changed. But I look back at them and I go, no, I don't necessarily agree with that. And so one of the things that I come back to a lot is sort of this relationship to family and parents, and also just this sort of moment of like becoming an adult, that crossing that threshold where you realize that no one is going to be accountable for your actions but you, and no one will take responsibility but you, and what you do with that. And I just think that's a really fascinating moment in someone's life, and so I wanted to tell a story that's it's about a father and a daughter, and the regret they both have, and it's probably some therapy stuff there that I'm pouring out on the page, but in amongst all of the robots and everything, I really did want to make it a sort of intimate and personal story that has heart to it. And,
you're operating sort of in the genres you've been talking about, superhero and super spy, but it's also like making fun of a lot of it at the same time. Can you talk about like sort of finding that line? I feel like that's a hard thing for a lot of books to do.
Yeah, it's super hard. And the 9 different drafts of this book tell me that I don't necessarily know the answer. I think if this book came out 3 months later, there would be a 10th and 11th draft. But I think, I think the difference is there's a lot of sort of satire that comes from a place of looking down on things. And this isn't that. Like, I do really love, like the Bond stuff. I do, I own all those movies on Blu-ray, and I go see them every time they come out. I've read all the books, and I do love, like these sci-fi tropes and things. And I do care about the characters. And so I think the line is, you can make fun of this stuff, but at the end of the day, it has to come from a place of respect, and that's what this is. Otherwise you're just taking the piss on something, and it's just not. I mean, that's fine for certain things, but that's not what we're doing. We're
right.
trying to be trying to be in those genres and in that conversation, but also acknowledge that it's goofy in ways and places.
And I think that's super key too, because it's like, if you want people to come back for more, right, there's got to be something real that kind of hooks them in and kind of like makes them want to stick around to see what happens. If it's too tropey or too just making fun of it, there's no real kind of meat to those bones. So I think you do a great job of that.
Oh, well, thank you. I think I spent a lot of time thinking about, and this book is, like I said, it's got comedy, but it's also other stuff. Like I think it's really hard to do comedy in comics because of that, because I think people feel like comedy is for some reason very, light and ephemeral, and you don't go into a store every month and pay $4 for jokes. And so I like to sort of slide the jokes in sandwiched between other stuff. And so there's action and there's like actual emotional weight to these things, but also like there's jokes and there's comedy.
Since this started with a robot and there are multiple robots in here, how much did the design morph and change? Or is this exactly what Stefano drew all those years ago?
What's funny is that it took me a long time to realize that once we'd started, he completely changed it and it doesn't look the same at all. I just always was like, it's going to look like that at some point. And then I was just like, no, it's completely different. Yeah, he designed it. I think part of it is that Stefano and I, the book we wanted to make, the book we envisioned, were 2 different books, and it took us a long time to realize that was a strength for us, that we were pulling in different directions. And in that, he went back and was like, oh, this is much less fun and sexy and cute, and much more like there's real weight to this, and it's kind of scary in parts, and it's kind of horrifying in parts. And so he made the robot kind of meaner and scarier looking and more intense. It was much more kind of cute before, and so he adjusted for what I wrote, and it took me a long time to realize like that he did that, and that was on me. But yeah, I mean, I knew it was different, but I didn't realize how different it was.
As a team that's worked together before, how do you navigate things like that? Like, do you have some sort of rule set up, or is it just kind of feeling each other out?
No, we just kind of wing it. he's really great. Stefano's kind of amazing because he's very good at action. He's very good at like the emotional stuff and the comedy and the acting, which is rare that you can do both. Like I think a lot of people can excel at one or the other. But he's also like has really good instincts for like character design and world building. And so most of the time I'll write something and he sends it to me just like, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have any notes on that, it looks great. Like his take is always better than mine. And so we've even sort of stopped doing that. When I introduce new stuff, I'm like, you can just do it on the page. I sort of trust it. And every once in a while there's something where I'm like, that isn't exactly what I thought, and he'll tweak it if he feels like it. Usually it's not a big deal, but yeah, we're pretty relaxed in terms of collaboration.
Well, and I just on that, it feels like that he's able to make it a little scary at points, especially at the top of the book, and really give us sort of the child's or the daughter's perspective in a lot of the book, which I think is, I didn't notice it until like halfway through. I was like, oh, I'm really riding with her through this whole front portion.
Yeah. He's really good at sort of humanizing it and making it really feel very, very human and very relatable. And having Annalise as our lead character, like, yes, I think he really does a great job of like the scary part is scary. The intense parts are very intense. And from that, a lot of it grows from that. Like if you can't sell that, then like the book kind of doesn't work, but he sells it perfectly.
Yeah. And this is the unofficial kickoff of your world tour for the book that you're doing. It's not included in any of the press, which is weird, but that's okay. But more seriously, we're
putting a big flag in that though for our own selfish ends. Yes. We're putting a huge flag in that.
Yes, this is the pre-party for your world tour that you're going to be doing with Tyler Boss. You guys are traveling all over the place because he has a book as well, You'll Do Bad Things, which is also coming out tomorrow. Yes. Talk to us about this tour. How did this go?
And also sort of a medium-long title. I feel like he's right there.
Shorter. A little shorter.
A little shorter. Yeah, he hasn't quite learned that. I mean, first of all, he used a contraction. Very stupid. It should be
weak. Contractions are weak.
Come on. I'm all for punctuation, but find a different way to use an apostrophe. Contractions, no. So Tyler and I, we made. He worked on We Can Never Go Home with me, and then we made Four Kids Walking on a Bank together, and we're still making What's the First Place from Here together, and but we were both working on these other books, and we realized that they were going to be done at a similar time period. And so we planned for them to go together so we could promote them. And then at a certain point, I just, I'm a nerd for traveling and getting out there and going to comic shops. I really love comic shops. And so I was like, let's do this. And so we're doing 31 shops in 31 days, which is...
that seems like a healthy number in that time.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's weird is that there's like 8 days off in the middle, and then there's a lot of days that are 2 or 3 shops. So no, it's not super healthy.
That's even worse, I would argue.
Yeah, I don't think Tyler understood the distance of traveling from San Francisco to Portland. When I was like, yeah, you're driving, because I'm from New York. I don't know how to drive. I mean, I know how. I'm not licensed to do it.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I just like the concept.
I won't do it. I would never do it.
There's the pedals and whatever.
I legally can't. But...
Yeah, look, to bring it back, like James Bond isn't the only person who can kill people. He's the only person licensed to do it. Other people know how to kill people.
All of us who do have a driver's license call them the pedals. We don't ever get more specific than that.
Well, I don't know which one does which, but
they're just down there. You figure it out.
Go pedal, stop pedal. I get it. Sometimes there's
like
a third pedal.
You just press both of them.
Spin. And that's how you spin.
Yeah,
exactly.
I assume it's the same as on my bike. We have the pedals, but so we're going up to Canada if Canada decides to let us in. We'll see.
It would be great if you weren't detained in an ice facility. Just throwing that out.
I would argue getting back is the harder part.
I think they'll let us back. I don't know. I used to go to Canada a lot. Haven't been in a while. My understanding is that they don't like us as much as they used to, and they may not want us there. But we're going up there. We're going, and then we're doing the West Coast and going to Vegas. I bought tickets to the Sphere, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, what are you
Are
seeing
you going to
there?
do a reading there? Of your
We're gonna do the book. Yeah, and then they made me buy tickets, which is sad. Darren Aronofsky made a nature documentary that's like 45 minutes. Yeah, it was that or like seeing the Grateful Dead, and I was like, take Darren Aronofsky over there. So yeah, it's a lot of travel. We'll see.
Well, one of your stops is a comic book shop called Final Boss Comics. Does Tyler own that?
You know, what's interesting is that Tyler's like, we have to go here.
Okay.
And I was like, why? And he was like, guy reached out. He was really nice. And I was like, okay.
Feels like a trap. That's a trap right there.
If I didn't know where he lived, I would think it was his house. But it's in New Jersey. I'm excited. I like going to a comic shop I've never been to. We're going to a lot of the places. We start tomorrow at Midtown Comics, and that's my local shop. So it's like,
great one.
I love Midtown, but also, I'm like, I've been here, guys. Come on, let's do something different.
Now, I too love comic book shops. Well, what's your favorite thing about walking into a new comic book shop, or what do you look for when you walk into a comic book shop? What's some of the things that get you excited about comic book shops?
Besides your books, of course.
I obviously am going to pick up my own books. That's super important to me.
You just plan to walk by it in case anybody says
Yeah. I like to be recognized. Right. That's happened once in my whole life. I'm funny because I'm both sides of the I like a really pretty nice curated comic shop. I like a comic shop where you can go in and be like, oh, the people who run this, everything in here they like and endorse, and that gives you the sort of courage to go and pick something up that you've never heard of, never seen, and been like, I trust this. I really like that. And there's a lot of shops like that around the country that I really like. But I also like the real dirty hole in the wall places that are just like
same
boxes on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love just being like, what crazy out of print weird thing am I going to find? Why didn't I know they made a Rambo Alf crossover comic? And and here it is. They didn't make that, but that's what you hope for them.
Yeah, you could do it.
Both super viable properties. So I don't see any reason why we can't do this.
Available.
Alf is very popular on Blue Sky in particular for specific reasons, but I'm sure you can work it.
Yeah, but Rambo's very popular on Twitter. Can we bring those together is the problem.
Not possible. No touchstone.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
No, I have nothing else to say.
Well, let's transition to some of your other stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the Four Kids Walk Into a Bank movie that is happening?
Yes.
Well, it's happening very big time.
And I believe Liam Neeson is in it, and he's playing you. Is that
Liam
correct?
Neeson plays me. We added, it's a self-insert. I was like, hey, can I put myself in this? And they were like, yeah, I guess. And then I was like, Liam Neeson wants to be me. So no,
Neeson bit.
Yeah, we're making the movie. It's finished filming. They filmed for 6 weeks in Ireland. Me and Tyler flew over right before Christmas to visit the set and hang out. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's a very weird, surreal experience. I sort of grew up. I have a lot of family who are in the film and TV business, so I grew up on a lot of sets and stuff. But it is a very different thing when it's the thing you made, but also it's very different when it's the thing you made, but also you kind of didn't make it. So there's this strange thing. We didn't know how to navigate. We walked onto the set and producers who we've only met in Zoom calls, and our director, Frankie, who we've talked to, and she's amazing. And then some of the cast are there, and everyone came up to us. And our whole thing was we were going to just thank everyone for all the work and making it. And they all were like, well, we have to come thank you. And I was like, oh, this is that weird thing where no one is really sure what the power dynamics here are, or and it's strange. I described it to someone as and this sounds really negative and I don't mean it to. I said, it's sort of like if we wrote a cookbook, and now someone else at a different party is making a cake from it, and everyone from that party is calling us to be like, the cake is so good. And we're like, we didn't really make that cake exactly. But it's cool. I mean, me and Tyler are producers on it, and so we've been involved from day one, and it's really great. The cast is amazing. It's a lot of people who, you watch a movie and you're like, oh, that person is amazing. And then they're in our movie, which is cool, and it seems really fun and really cool. And when you go to Ireland for a week and you talk to people and you tell them Liam Neeson's in your movie, they get much nicer to you than they were before. So that's interesting. They love him in a way, like literally 2:00 in the morning at a donor stand, like drunk guys yelling at me, cursing at me, and then one of them in this back and forth, one of them was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "I wrote a book and I'm turning it into a movie." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's called Four Kids Work on a Bank." And they were like, "Liam Neeson." And then like drunk guy literally shoved his girlfriend out of the way to shake my hand. I was like, "Okay, man, cool." Gonna have to say sorry to her later, but fine.
Is there, at this point, is there a release plan for it? Do you know?
Yes, there is. That's a really good question.
Thank you.
There is.
They're going to.
The plan is yes. It's funny, for the longest time, when you do this stuff, like we didn't have distribution until worked out. We just had financing worked out, and right before then I was like, I kept saying to Tyler, I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Like this could end up being that like this is for free on the Popeyes chicken website. Like I don't know. Like you never know.
Dying
really
to
good.
pitch at Popeyes.
Really good.
Sure, and that sandwich is great, and no complaints if that's what it is. But I don't think we should tell our families to get excited if it's going to be only available on Cricket Wireless or whatever the fuck it is. Like I'm sorry, I'm going after all your sponsors here.
Yeah, it's all right. My phone's blowing up. They're texting me right now.
I'm sorry.
We're a Cricket. We're not wireless. We're Cricket wired. We're
Cricket,
You're just landlines.
Cricket.
That's great. That's just 2 cups with a string. So, but then at the last minute, we were picked up by Orion, which is a division of Amazon, MGM Amazon. So
I was gonna say that's a cool older place.
Yeah,
studio
it's super weird to be. Yeah, it's super weird because the book was optioned by Picture Start, who are amazing and great and sort of a newer company, but in making these things, it turns out it takes a lot of money to make a movie. So all these other people came in. So like Point Grey, which is Seth Rogen's company, or the producers, and they've been very hands-on. But at a certain point, Miramax came on, and I was like, that's pretty cool, Miramax. And then Orion came on, and I was like, oh. And then they were like, well, it's Orion MGM, and I was like, geez, that's a lot of like.
I know all these names.
Yeah, I know the Lion. Yeah, I'm familiar.
The Lion.
I'm a big fan.
I love that Lion. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird, but yes, there are plans that I can't talk about, but it's not going to be something that you have to buy some chicken or get a landline.
I would. I want you to know I would.
I really appreciate that, Pete.
Pete's going to buy chicken anyway while he watches the movie, just in case. Even if it goes to theaters, just bring a ton of.
It pairs well with chicken. Like it just does. From what I've seen, I haven't seen all of it, but it pairs well.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, you guys are still going on What's the Furthest Place from Here, that, as usual, is going in some wild directions, and not just in terms of the plot. It really feels like in the past couple of issues, you've maybe not shaken up the entire premise is the right word, but you definitely literally crossed a mountain, and it felt like got to the other side of the story. Is that a good way of describing it?
Yeah, it's the goal was always to tell a story about these kind of sheltered kids who realize that they're sheltered and their world expands outwards ever more. And we wanted to get to a point where we're like, the thing you've thought now as the reader who understands this, we built a limit to what this world is, and now we're going to break that again. And so we are in the end game of that book, which is still we still have a bunch to go, but as it picks up speed and strangeness and the world expands, it's also coming to a close. So that's fun because I think we're introducing new things that we really love, and then going to try and leave on a high note, as it were.
A little while ago, this might have, I've lost all track of time, so this might have been a year, 2 years, 3 years, honestly, I don't know. But I remember seeing in my local comic book shop, you had a variant that had a record packaged with it, like a little vinyl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that something you're looking to do again? Because it pairs so well with the box.
No, I would rather die. No, we did. 7 of them. We did 1 through 7. There was limited edition variants that had really cool bands. We went and got a bunch of bands that we love to record, and so Joyce Manor and Screaming Females and Military Gun and Nothing and Chubby and the Gang and all these bands, Julian Baker, Sharon Van Etten, all these people who were awesome went and recorded songs. And then we went to go press them in the middle of pandemic times when making records is really fun because it's like a 6-part process, and you need like these metal stampers and you need these paper labels and you need this vinyl. And at one point our pressing plant was like, so there's 6 things we need, and right now all 6 of them are not available. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, we can't get paper, we can't get vinyl, we can't get metal working. And I was like, that's cool, so what are you guys doing? And they're like, we're home, we can't turn on the machine. And then we got all the records made. We were actually going to go to 10, and it ended up being such a nightmare to get them made that we ended up canceling 3 and just giving the bands their songs back. But we got to 7 and we got them all made, and then we shipped them to our wonderful Image's wonderful distribution partners at Diamond, who have some problems lately. I don't know if
really
come up. So there was a lot of back and forths of me sending Diamond emails being like, what's going on with the records getting out, because people have paid for them and we would like them, and I paid thousands and thousands of dollars to make them. And they would go, yeah, as soon as they show up. And I'd say, here's the tracking number, you signed for them a month ago. And they go, okay, then we'll get right on it. And then you'd have that same conversation again 2 weeks later, except you'd go, this is the last email you said, where you said, okay, yeah, we know where they are. That email happened like 11 times. We're just waiting for them. And I was like, and at a certain point I said, this person signed for them. And they said, they don't even work here anymore.
It's like, just me here now. I'm Diamond.
I'm Diamond. It's just Dave Diamond sitting there. Being like,
I'll find him, brother. I love music.
But yeah, they're all out there and they're available, and we have some on our website if you can't find them at your local shop. But obviously check there first. But yeah, they're cool, they're fun. I don't ever want to make a record again though.
I feel like music was such a part of that book at the beginning, and now the story is in a different place.
Sure.
Do you feel like it will return to that, or will that be woven in as you bring it to this end?
There's a little bit of music stuff that comes together, and then yes, it returns to that place. Cool. And that's by design. It's the book is about it's a post-apocalyptic story about the things that when you're a kid, the things that you choose to define yourself by. And our group follows a bunch of kids who define themselves by the records they surround themselves with and the music that they love. I mean, they actually don't listen to the music; they just like the records as objects.
Yeah.
But they're in love with records and whatever, and then life happens and they sort of grow out of it, and then by the end of the book, not to spoil anything, but whatever, it'll come back to it. And it's sort of, I think that's a journey that a lot of us know. I think certainly, when I talk to comic book readers, that's obviously always something of like, I loved him when I was a kid, and then I got a girlfriend, and I got into sports or whatever, or I went to jail, and now I love comics again. Maybe all 3. So that is it's about falling away from the things you love and then coming back to them from a different place is a big thing. So yes, the music will return, but without me making records, because I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, not to change topics to another comic book, but you're also working on DC versus Vampires World War V, which has been expanding the world of that in a crazy big way. Yeah. This is a very specific thing that I was curious from a writing perspective, because to spoil a little bit of the book for anybody who isn't reading, obviously per the title, DC versus vampires, the world has been taken over by vampires. There are superheroes and some humans left, and they're fighting, etc. But in the middle of this, Darkseid and Apocalypse start invading. This takes place in an alternate universe, so they don't know about Darkseid, which is hard for me as a comic book reader, where they're like, who's this guy? And I'm like, you know him. You fought him so many times. Oh, right. They don't know it yet. What is that like for you from the writing perspective?
It's, like I've never written, I've been at DC for a bunch of years. I've never really written Darkseid, which is, hurt me in my core. And so I was like, well, I want to add Darkseid to this because he's the most fun big bad they have. And, but yes, it is funny. I mean, we have that in the book constantly, though, of just like, it wasn't until issue 3 that I was like, which is years ago because I'm writing my 30th issue or whatever right now. But in issue 3, I was like, wait, where's, Guy Gardner? And they were like, well, I don't know, where's Guy Gardner? And I was like, oh yeah, God damn it. Like, I make up the rules here. and that's sort of a thing that we have to contend with all the time, of just like, well, it's our own rules and we have to sort of, as long as we have internal math of what this is. So Darkseid showing up, they don't know him. It turns out a few people do know who he is. Obviously, Mr. Miracle's in the book, and he is very aware of Darkseid. But it is it's fun. It's weird, and I'm aware that him showing up and people not recognize him was a moment of people being like, that's crazy. But also, we needed to get him in the book. Like, he's big, and we had this 2-sided war that was sort of heating up, and I was like, well, let's just throw that all into chaos. And it was very fun and to do, and I think what comes from it is one of my favorite things I've ever written. So I'm very excited for where we're going.
I do love Otto Schmidt's Darkseid. He is enormous. He's like twice the size of any regular Darkseid. It's great.
I did not know he was going to do that. I love Otto dearly. And I was just like, I literally went back and looked at the script. I was like, did I say something weird? I mean, Otto's Russian. So every once in a while, there's a thing where I was like, oh, that's a translation issue or whatever. But I was like, did I do something crazy? And then I just went, Darkseid shows up, he's huge, and that was it. That's the description. And he is certainly huge. He's like 17 feet tall, and it's awesome. And now
it's great.
With that. Yeah, I just love it. I think regular sized Darkseid sucks now.
And one other thing about the issues. This current series also has backup stories by other authors and artists. There was just a fantastic 2-parter by Joey Esposito about Animal Man that was so dark and upsetting. But
Deeply
all of those stories have been really good as well. What has it been like? Have you been involved in expanding this, or is that up to editorial? How's that worked?
It's a little of both. Some of it is me, and some of it is, in the when I started the book, our editor was Ben Abernathy, who was the head of the Bat Office and the executive editor at DC, and we were very like hand in hand of bouncing everything off each other. But he has since left the company and gone to Skybound, where he's running your G.I. Joes and Transformers and whatnot. And so Matt Levine is my editor, and Matt is, in this very complicated position of coming into a book that's been running for a long time, of just, me and Otto making this thing. And I really wanted to make sure that Matt felt, I mean, it is his book, he's the editor, but I wanted to make sure that like he felt like he had his mark on it and had his stamp. And, he was like, yeah, I have these ideas for backups. And I was like, go, man, do it. Like, I just need to know what they are, because I don't want to contradict anything. But then there was a few that were me. I was really excited about Joey's story. It was great. The Animal Man. Tyler Boss always wanted to do a thing at DC, and so I asked if Tyler could do one, and they were like, "Oh, we'd be honored." And then I thought he was going to do Batman because he's a huge Batman nerd. And he was like, "Can I do Batmite?" And I was like, "Gotta make it weird, man."
Yeah, sure.
That was great, though. That was so much fun.
It was so much fun, and I was like, "You only get one shot of this, and your shot was Batmite," which I get. He won't only get one shot at it. He's a great artist and great writer, but like. I did like his instinct, but yeah, no, it's been awesome to watch. I mean, it's super weird to make this thing and make this universe and have other people like come with ideas and riff on it. And, and I've been on the other side of that and know how frustrating it is when the person who runs it is kind of like, you can't do that. You can't do that. So my rule has always been like, if I can make it work on my end, like I don't want to give people notes. I don't want to get in the way. I want them to do their best work they can. And so like, I've had to rewrite a couple things based on the backups, or like move characters or change things. But like, I'm happy to do that because it's for the backup people. It means they're telling their number one story they want to tell, and they're going to do better with that. So.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now, is this? Can we call this a pocket universe? Are we going to get some expansion there? Are we going to get more? Like, this feels like it has a real endurance. It's running a marathon. It's drinking a Yoo-hoo.
It's drinking Yoo-hoo. Yeah, it's on its second Yoo-hoo. I don't know. DC pinged me about doing more a little while ago. And I said, I set out. I didn't really set out to do 30 plus issues of Vampire Comics. I said, I don't really know if I want to do that. You'd have my blessing to hand it off to someone if you want more. But, I don't know. And they weren't super amped on handing it off to someone, I think. And then I sort of sat down and was like, there is one thing I'd like to do, but it's real fucking weird. And and I pitched it to them and they were like, that's real weird. And I was like, it would be so good though. And then they were like, that is really good. And so I don't know. It's real weird, so I don't know if we're gonna do it, but it maybe we'll do more. But I don't think there's gonna be. I don't know if there's gonna be any. There aren't any plans for any spinoffs now. There was a spinoff book before. There was the All Out War book, which I co-wrote with Alex Bagnadell. That was very fun, but that was sort of not exactly world building. It was sort of a parallel story. Mm-hmm. They made a bunch of toys, which are right up there on my shelf.
That's so cool.
I mean, that's very cool.
Do you mind if I ask, do you get a cut of that at all, or not?
The toys?
Really? Yeah, or you just get the toys?
I didn't even get those. No, I didn't. They're not characters. They're not new characters that I made. So it's like I didn't invent the Joker. Actually, the
what?
Yeah, I know.
You said when we booked you on the show that you invented the Joker.
I in a lot of ways, in my heart, I feel that's true. But,
yeah.
Because I was in, I saw that Jack Nicholson and I was like, I want to make a character like that. No, there aren't original characters that I made. So I wouldn't, if I had made some, I would get a cut of them. But I also think that Todd McFarlane probably wouldn't have made action figures for those characters. So, but no, I don't get anything. And then I'm supposed to get copies of the toys, but then there's just like, everyone's understaffed and everyone is overworked. And I think that the DC office wasn't getting them maybe or something. So I was just like, I'm just going to buy them. They're not that expensive. But then there was 8 of them at the end. And I was like, that was actually more expensive than I would have.
Yeah. But I needed all to that. I needed all.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff, and everybody should check out We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. But anything else you want to plug before we go?
Obviously, I love Popeye's fried chicken.
Right.
For sure.
Wireless. No, I think I'm working on a bunch of stuff that I can't talk about, so I can't plug any of that. I really love Tyler's book. Is out tomorrow. You'll Do Bad Things, and it's really great. And people need to buy it because we're going to be in a car together for a month, and I need him to be in good spirits and happy that whole time. And not...
He is driving. That's important.
He's driving. He knows how the pedals work. His car is actually parked right outside my apartment right now. So he's not here, but he parked his car here because where he was going, he didn't know if there'd be parking. And so, it's support. I love that book, and I hope people check it out. It's like a great giallo slasher horror film as comic, but like with gorgeous art, and it's very weird and crazy and fun. And no, I don't have anything else to plug.
All right.
That's plenty. Matthew, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank
Always
you
great
to talk to you.
Congrats
so
on the
exciting.
book.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Thank you, guys. This is the high point of my day. My week. This is the high point of my week. How about that?
Good.
Ooh,
well, you're just about to get in a car.
You're about to go on tour. Enjoy. Safe travels.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck with the book.
Clifford for life. Later.
All right, there we go. Once again, the book is called We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. It's out tomorrow from Image Comics, and it really is fantastic. If you like Bond movies or not, if you like just really good-looking comics,
a great story,
well-written,
Bergie does great work, man.
Great work. And we never talked about the fact that you still call him Bergie, even though I think he's expressed his disinterest in that. And I just want to take a quick moment and, sure, everyone has a cell phone, but if you want to have a phone line in your home, check out Cricket Wired, the phone line that is there for you when you need it, by your bedside, in your kitchen, but you can't leave your house with it. Cricket Wired.
And Popeye's chicken. Yummy! Much shorter.
Popeye's chicken. I will say it's very funny that came up because I have pitched Chick-fil-A within the last year on content.
Wow.
Because they have a legitimate app where they're making content. It's depressing. It's sad.
Yeah, the world is terrible, but you all are amazing because we're going to go on to our next section, which is your audience questions. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question in the comments over on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. We will get to it. But what are you guys drinking tonight? What's going on?
Well, I'm still, drinking the longboards and thinking about good times in New York City.
Oh, that's nice. Wait, when you say you're still drinking longboards, you mean steadily from last week to this week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like a consistent beer on your
And to be
cereal.
clear, when you say it reminds you of New York City, for anybody listening, Pete used to go surfing on the Gowanus Canal. He was so cool.
Yeah, that dolphin that died there was chasing Pete.
Yeah,
as usual. Hang 10.
I actually started a band based on that called Chasing Pete.
Oh, wow.
Band. Really nice. Your first album's Die Another Day, after your favorite band.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm drinking Genesee Springbok, a beer that is so cheap that you can buy a lot of it.
Awesome.
And I think that's written on the package.
All right, we got a question here from Nat Townsend. Nat says, maybe this is an audience question. Sure is, Nat. But
Great.
Music seems hard to do in comics. What are some comics that do that well? And we had a couple of that were brought up.
Couple great
in the
answers.
comments. Derek brought up Spectrum, which is out right now, I believe, from Mad Cave, I want to say.
Mad Cave,
and
yep.
Deep Cuts from Image, which is one
Deep
of my
Cuts was going to be
favorites.
my answer, one that we've certainly hyped up. Very good. I would also throw into that, we've hyped up Charles Soule's book, Phonograph, right? From back in the day, being very musical.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, really? I swear
Yeah.
we've talked about this a million
And
times. I
then
feel
there
like you're
was
the
that-
one that usually brings it up.
Really?
The zombie book, Key of Z. I think that they do that well.
Oh, that's
What?
nice.
What are
And
you guys talking about?
That
I've
was
been
like
reading a
real
book. I know that
part
book.
of yeah.
I've been reading. That's that's from the Coheed and Cambria guy.
Yeah, bro.
Oh,
Shouts.
okay, yes.
The one I was
dude's
going to
awesome.
say is there's this comic Knights that we've been talking about a little bit in the
With
Discord.
a K or with an N?
With an N, from Image. I think the second trade maybe just came out, and they do music in a very like needle drop way, which is something I haven't seen in a while. It's just very much like, here's the lyrics, it's part of this, and it really is a nice
Normally
commitment.
you hate needle drops.
I
for
think I don't like
Invincible.
bad needle drops, which is what the television show Invincible seems only capable of doing.
The two I'll throw out, which we do bring up all the time, but maybe you guys don't remember because I don't know what you're talking about. Black Metal, the graphic novel
yeah,
from
dude,
back in
come
the
on.
day about two black metal twins going to hell, I believe. Also, Pete, I cannot believe you didn't bring up Murder Falcon. That's crazy.
Oh, that is crazy.
And
Right
Scott,
behind me, for Christ's sakes.
I know, and Scott Pilgrim also, just as a
yeah.
classic example.
Is that where you got it from? You just saw it there?
No, I can't see anything. You're tiny. You're very small. Frederico Rosa says, considering the last MCU movie was a dud and the current TV show is
Wow.
as good as it is, do you think the MCU is stronger in streaming than in movies now, or just a fluke? Ooh, several hot takes there.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't go and say that now it's completely switched just because one is doing well and the other, the latest, hasn't. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot more movies coming out, and hopefully they'll be a lot better. But, I mean, currently he has a point, so I understand what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're 1-to-1. I look at it as a whole. Like, obviously, they've kind of separated the divisions back into Marvel Television, Marvel Animation, Marvel Studios. But it is one machine that is all working together at the same time, or at least that's the goal. So I think like Captain America Brave New World didn't do great in theaters. It just passed $400 million, which we talked about on our podcast before, the Marvel Vision Review
sure did.
podcast, that, if this only made $500 million, that's not great. Like, obviously, that's an amazing amount of money for any person, but for a Marvel movie, they want to be above $1 billion. If 500 is the new standard, that's something they're going to have to adjust for in the future, particularly when it comes to budgets. So I think that's the big thing there. Loving Daredevil Born Again. I think we have a couple of projects that are left over this year. Wonder Man.
Yeah.
Ironheart, Marvel Zombies, etc. There's one more that I'm forgetting about. That's actually I don't remember. Whatever it is, there's a couple of things that are left over. My point is that like whatever changes they're going to make, I don't think we're going to see it on the TV side until next year at the earliest.
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of more of the randomness rather than I would say on the fluke side. Like the Captain America movie was supposed to come out last year, was pushed to this year because it was bad, is the rumor. So I think that's why it came out on Valentine's Day, not a blockbuster banger opening weekend slot. So there's that, and I just think Daredevil, they did it twice because they needed it to be good. So when you really, and they changed their model to be like, oh, let's do this the right way. So I think there's a lesson in there that they will not have learned, I think, on the projects you just described, Alex, because they started before that. But maybe moving forward. That's why these Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are the real tests for the movie side.
Rico responded, Eyes of Wakanda. Was that the other one you were trying to
That was the other one. Thank you. Dan's Hobby Corner says, hey, guys, what are your thoughts on the new Batgirl run? This is the one with Cassandra Cain. I think we've been really liking it, right?
You're talking about long distance run where everybody drinks Yoo-Hoo? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I'm doing a Batgirl half this weekend.
Dresses Batgirl, run a half marathon? That's a good time, man.
Absolutely.
I think we've been loving it. It's been a very dynamic, fast-paced comic, while also, I think the Cassandra Cain Batgirl is a character that is purposefully sort of like doesn't say much, and this gets sort of underneath the hood into her relationship with her mom, and has good back and forths with it that I was happy to see, because it's a little more emotionally complicated than expected when we first started reading it.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with it, not only artistically, and man, artistically is amazing, but the balance of really great story and the things that we get to learn about the character, but then just the action and the adventure that they're on. It's great on a lot of different levels.
All in the Game says, should Feige be nervous about the Russos after Electric State? I would argue that Feige should have been nervous about the Russos before Electric State, but we are where we are.
Maybe coming off Citadel.
Mm-hmm. Or The Gray Man, I guess. Though that did well for Netflix. So
yeah.
Did you guys watch The Electric State?
I did.
Yes. I feel like.
We did. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild how bad it is. If you haven't listened to our full-on review on it, it is like and it's the full team. The scriptwriters are the same, Marcus and McFeely from Captain America. So it's like, what happened here? And I don't know. I think they should be nervous. It feels like the Russos and the people they're working with aren't able to do it anymore. Feels a little reckless or careless. Maybe now they have to prove themselves again that might re-elevate them, but definitely worrisome.
Well, so here's the thing, and I'm trying to figure out a way of politically saying this because I'm not trying to upset or insult anybody, but Infinity War and Endgame were kind of set. Like, they were sort of like, okay, all of the pieces here are in place. We know we need to hit these things. We have this whole enormous team working on it. But I think we all knew going in, there is going to be a moment at the end when literally every character comes through portals to battle Thanos. Like, that's how that movie has to end, right? And they crushed it. They nailed it. They figured out a way to do it that just brought the audience to the feet, and that's great. But there's still a lot of stuff in there that feels like, I don't know, how many of us fondly look at the time heist section of Endgame and be like, that is the pinnacle of cinema. We don't. The battle at the end is awesome. Infinity War is a pretty good movie and a lot of fun throughout, with a really strong, dark ending that leaves you wanting to know more. When they're heading into a place with Doomsday and Secret Wars, they potentially have the roadmap of the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, so that's good. That is a good roadmap to work off of. But we don't have quite the same build-up of 10 years or whatever it was of movies that all felt like they were leading to this inevitable thing that hit it that home run right at the end there. So will it feel as satisfying with them like getting all the pieces in the correct place? I don't know.
Well, and I would give them a little bit more credit for putting that together. That's a huge production. That's a lot of different talent to bring together who brought a lot to it. Because I think the bigger issue they will have a roadmap, but they don't have the sort of stars lined up. They don't have like the in the same way that the Avengers were the Avengers. Like, we knew who the story was about. There's just more, it could go any direction. And when there's so many more variables and different outcomes, it's much harder to be like, this is the story. So I think that's where they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. They go into production shortly, so it's going to happen no matter what. Scheuchler says, piggybacking on Nat's question, what's the best uses of comics and music? And I'd like to take Pete's secret quiz.
Oh, the Shoiks.
Kryptonite. The song Kryptonite, definitely the best use of. My Kryptonite.
Oh, wow.
I'll be your Superman.
Called Superman. I know all the lyrics. Don't worry.
It's crazy that you picked up right where you did. I'm Kryptonite, I think is what it is. I'm Kryptonite. I think best use of comics in music. That's a tougher. What has been a song you'd be like, I will play this?
Wait, while you're trying to think of that, Pete, I'm sorry, we're going to skip ahead of all of this stuff. Scheuchler, just let us know how many skulls you think Pete's looking at right now.
Yes. That's
now
exactly
back
right.
to Justin's question.
We don't need to have the.
We don't need to go through all of the steps here, Pete. Everybody knows you're asking about a random number of skulls.
That's not random.
You said last week that it is both specific and random, which is contradictory.
MF Doom.
Yeah. Derek Maynard has a great answer. Queen's Flash Gordon theme. Yes, that is awesome.
But MF Doom is also a great answer.
Yeah, shouts to MF Doom, definitely. That's great.
We got another question here. While I don't know if he's gotten to the number of skulls yet, but Stray Bullet says, we were discussing the new Assassin's Creed game in the Discord today, and it got me thinking about last meals. What would your last meal be?
What are you cooking, Stray?
Ooh,
Can you request to move your murder to a different place, to a brewery?
Last
You're
meal.
gonna play it on his menu. That's fun. Be like, all right, well, what's Stray cooking? And then this day he's making this, and that's when I'm gonna die.
I mean, anybody can have a fancy meal. I would go BLT.
What?
BLT.
That's how you're going out? Is on a BLT, bro?
Die how I lived. Crushing BLTs.
That's how you want people to remember you? Just crushing BLTs?
You don't get remembered. You don't get remembered for your. It's not like, oh, what did he order for his last meal?
Pete, what would your last meal be?
I don't know. Part of me wants to try eating my weight in ribs, but also I feel like
it's not a dare. It's rarely a dare. It's rarely a dare. You can't
I'd love to die
extend
at a pie eating contest.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna die, I would want to get goofy, and I would have tried to,
Yeah,
the
whatever. Chefs at the prison are like, uh-oh, he's getting goofy.
Yeah, is cocaine a meal? I'd love to just snort my weight in cocaine.
More of an aperitif, palate cleanser. I guess I would drown in soup, if possible. Combine the meal and the death. Make it one whole thing.
Yeah. Stanley, following up, I assume, on our last question, or a couple of questions back, do you think Kevin Feige has lost his touch? Would a new leader that respects comics and creators more improve the MCU? That's my tone that I'm putting on it, of course.
Yes.
I think he does respect comics and creators. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know him personally, but that's the impression that I get.
I think their process just got away from them a little bit. They expanded. Yeah. It was too much. It's too big. It was too much to keep in everyone's brains who are putting it together. The way they work is like building the airplane while it's flying, and that's hard. So they got away with it a lot of times based on talent, their talent, the talent that they hired. And it just doesn't always work. It's just difficult.
Well, and I think there's a lot of factors there, right? I mean, not to get too in the weeds talking about this, but they finished the story they were telling with Avengers Endgame, and then Disney was like, we're launching Disney Plus, start doing double the content, which half of it is TV, which you haven't done before. Also, COVID hit, messed up the whole schedule and the plans of literally everybody in the entire world. And then there were double strikes that messed with the schedule a bit as well. So there's a lot of things that came in the middle there, not to mention the whole VFX flap and all the things that happened behind the scenes. They had shakeups there. So a lot of stuff went down. I don't know. This is Stanley, 100% nothing against your question, but I'm never up for the myth of like one singular vision is the thing that creates it. Kevin Feige, as far as we know, is a good boss who is good at managing this stuff. It's not all coming from his brain and pyramiding down. He's in charge of it, and like Justin said, there are things that got away from them, whether external factors or internal factors. So
yeah,
there we go. All right, that is it for your audience questions.
Where did Scheuchler go with the skulls?
Yeah.
Did he ever say how many skulls?
I didn't see it. No.
He hasn't yet.
Oh, he's too scared. He's too scared.
Oh wait, I see him creeping in behind Pete's shoulder there. He's in the box.
Yeah. Pete, I'm gonna say 9 skulls.
Dude, no. No,
You can't guess. And the number's way higher. Here's the thing. You're not thinking Pete like. There's at least a dozen.
Yeah.
There's either a dozen skulls or one skull.
No, it's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
Pete's a maximalist. He's going
Wait,
big.
but you got
on
a
Punisher
rogue
skulls.
guess here from Stray Bullet. 16
That doesn't.
skulls
He can't guess.
for 16 candles? Is it a reference to Molly
Ooh,
Ringwald?
that's fun, but no.
The original Punisher.
The original Punisher was 16 candles, bro?
Was Molly Ringwald punishing my heart in that movie? Oh, have you ever seen it?
Oh,
my God.
shit. Nice.
Ducky, come on.
Come on, dude.
All right, we are going to move on with our next section, which is trivia again, and we're going to turn it over
What do you
to
mean
Pete.
again?
We just kind of did trivia with number of skulls, so it's all trivia.
Okay.
Pay the pay!
Hey, before we get back to the lovely audience, it's an opportunity to win $25 free to Midtown Comics online, and we were all just talking with Berkey about how Midtown Comics is a great comic book shop, so if you wanted to support one, they're a great one to support. But all we need is a brave volunteer, and you will win $25 to Midtown Comics online.
We have a question in the meantime. Do the co-hosts' skulls count?
Ooh, great call.
No.
Because we're technically
These
in
are
front of you, Pete.
Punisher skulls that I see.
No, I have the same Punisher skull. No teeth, no bottom teeth. Just
Yeah,
top teeth.
I had a surgeon augment my skull, so it's the Punisher skull inside of my face, but you can't
Because
see
you
it.
wanted to put more evil brain into it, right? You were like, make my
100%.
skull bigger so I can...
Yeah, make my
Excuse
skull
me,
bigger,
doctor.
brain.
More brain, please.
Yeah, more brain.
Hello,
Easy,
doctor,
Reader is volunteering here, yeah.
Ooh, we both pressed it at the same
Yeah,
time. There we go.
Same time press. All right, here we go. Today's trivia is about the first appearance of Hush and a small nod to the legend Roberta Flack, R.I.P., a true prodigy. All right, here we go. Question number 1. Please listen to all 3 options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. What is the first appearance of Hush? Is it A, Batman number 609, January of 2003? B, if you have a middle name, it better not begin with K, or C, Kenny Karen?
Wow, great.
Does he? Did you look it up?
I did not. I was too scared.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Too
it's one of those
I'll look it
ones
up.
you don't know. You want to. A is correct.
Wow.
Nice.
Question number 2. What is Hush's real name? Spoilers if you haven't read it. Is it A, Thomas Elliott? B, well, Janet. Looks like someone needs a new last name because I won the gift card this year. C, Janet Wright.
I love the story. You're building a story, Pete. It's always thinking in story.
Thanks.
Scheuchler says he nodded off.
Oh, choice. We can't keep you up anymore, huh? Oh, I feel bad that we're not loud enough to keep Shorts up at night. A is correct. It was well done. Here we go. Last one. Question number 3. Who created this villain? Was it A, Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee? B, sup, son? Looking a little gray. They should call you Wilt. Or C, Milt Grayson.
Okay, that one wasn't a story, but I will say you're still building a story.
Kind of go on a story with me. It's a little bit of a ride, if you will.
It's definitely hey. No one argued.
Hey, there we go. It's a AAA. Congratulations to Easy Reader. You have won a gift card to Midtown Comics. Shoot us an email and we'll get that off to you. Pete, what is the secret movie you were referencing?
Of course, we're talking about the 1978 musical The Wiz.
Of course.
Oh.
And I'm talking about how new comic books are coming out tomorrow. Lots of stuff hitting stands. Lots of big stuff. Oh, here we go. What are you guys looking forward to, Pete?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. Absolute Wonder Woman number 6. This has been so badass. I can't wait to read more. I'm having a blast with this book. Batman number 158. I mean, what an exciting team. I mean, Hush, too. I'm hoping it'll be better than Hush. Hatouche.
It's pronounced Hatouche.
Hoping it's going to be better than Hatouche 1. And then Wolverine Revenge.
You think it's going to be
5.
better than Hush 1?
I do.
Yeah, Hatouche
hot
1
take.
is what I called it, which is good. I like
Wolverine
that.
Revenge number 5. I mean, you got Cap on art, and it's been so just badass, and
Captain America's on art.
No.
Capullo.
Yeah, Greg Capullo.
Greg Capullo.
Call him Cap for short.
Nice. I mean, there's a lot coming out. I guess I will hype up some of the books that I'm excited for, but there are many more. Seasons number 3 by Rick Remender. Been loving this book. Very fun, fantastical trip.
I tell you what.
Very good, but this is one of my favorites he's done in the last couple of years. Vampirella number 1 by Priest that we talked to him about it.
Dude.
Such a fun, just that interview. He really got me on board with that book. We're taking everyone with us. Shouts to our guy Bergie.
Yeah, Bergie.
And Thunderbolt's Doomstrike number 2. In all of these Doom books that we've been reading in the last month and a half, this one really feels the most right. So the first issue was great. I'm excited to see if they can keep that going.
I'm going to give a big shout out to Absolute Martian Manhunter number 1. That's from Dennis Kapp and Javier
I left that one on
Rodriguez.
the table for you, Alex.
Thank
I left
you.
it
I
for you.
appreciate it.
You left you scraps.
Love Javier Rodriguez, and I've heard tell this is a issue that you want to pick up physically for sure and not digitally.
Oh,
because
interesting.
there might be some stuff in there. Also, I'll give a shout out to Universal Monsters: The Mummy, number 1 from Faith Erin Hicks, and you can look forward to Justin and I chatted with Faith Erin Hicks. That podcast is going to go up in the Comic Book Club feed around, I think I scheduled it for noon. We'll have a nice spoiled chat with her about that. Also, Free for All, number 1 from Odie Press by Patrick Horvath. This is his Billionaire Fight Club book that he did back in the day that they're publishing now. That's great. And last one, I'll give a shout out to, even though there are so many things I'm looking forward to, Harley Quinn Fartacular, Silent but Deadly, number 1.
Oh, come on, dude.
I'll tell you what, I love the fact that tomorrow from DC Comics, we're getting Absolute Martian Manhunter, an artistic achievement. We're getting Batman 158, Hattush, the sequel to one of the biggest comics of all
Hugely
time.
hyped book.
And then we're also getting a Scratch and Sniff Farts issue with Harley Quinn. That's great. I love that
covering all the
DC
bases.
is doing so many wildly different things. That's awesome. Kudos to them. I
agree. My farting along to the comics is finally making sense tomorrow.
And all of those comics and a ridiculous number more are going to be in our Stack podcast that posts Wednesday, 9 a.m., both in the Stack feed and the Comic Book Club feed. And folks, that is it for this week's shoe. We want to thank Matthew Rosenberg for being on. Don't forget to pick up We're Taking Everyone Down with us tomorrow in comic book shops. Next week, Aubrey Sitterson is going to be back on the show to talk about Free Planet. That's for April Fools, but it's true. A couple of other podcasts you can listen to: Comic Book Club News, our daily news show; Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast. We are recapping Daredevil. Also, I'll give a plug. I'm going to be at WonderCon this weekend, so if you're around, please come say hi. I'm going to bring some Comic Book Club stickers with me, so come grab one if you see me wandering around. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support this show and all the shows we do. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Cricket wired. Get your phone at home. Good night.
Papa's Yum!
They sit on crappy couches and they let the secrets leak. And occasionally they let their special guest speak. So grab your written hammer. Don't be late for it, 'cause their girlfriends can barely tolerate it. Comic Book Club. Comic Book Club. Comic Book Club. Comic Book
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Chords.
Good night.